In this video, we will learn how to find the value of a trig function if we are given a point on the terminal side of the angle. So what we can do is make a reference triangle right at this point. Now, looking at this reference triangle, we're given the x value and the y value of this point. But we can translate that into the lengths of these legs of the triangle. So 4 is the x value, so that means this point is 4 over, which means that this side of the triangle is 4. 3, the y value is up 3, so that means this vertical side is going to be 3. We're going to need the hypotenuse for this, so we would do the Pythagorean theorem, and so we would say 3 squared plus 4 squared is equal to the radius squared. Okay, I'm talking about this. And of course that means 9 plus 16, that's 25. Taking the square root of both sides, then the radius is 5. The hypotenuse is 5. Okay. Check the signs. This is to the right, positive. This is up, positive. The hypotenuse, the radius here is always going to be positive. So once we have these values, even though theta is actually this red angle that's shown out here, we can use the reference angle as we're thinking of the sine function, and it'll give us the same value. It will still give us the value of sine theta, even though we're using the reference angle, as long as we're actually using any negatives that appear. So, from the perspective of the reference angle, sine would be opposite over hypotenuse, so that would be 3 over 5. So, that's going to be the answer to this question, would be 3/5. Sometimes they ask us to find all 6 trig values. So we could go on from there and do cosine as adjacent over hypotenuse, or tangent would be 3 over 4, or I could do cosecant would be hypotenuse over opposite, all right, because it's the reciprocal. But they only asked us for one. All right, let's move on to number 4. Well, there's the cosecant. Now, cosecant is a reciprocal trig function. So we know that it's the reciprocal of the sine function. All right, so what we can do is find the value of sine theta. Whoa. We could find the value of sine theta and then just do the reciprocal. So again, let's make a reference triangle. Now this x value is 4, so that means this side of the triangle is going to be 4. 4 to the right is positive. Now this vertical side, this leg here, is going to be your -8. And we need to be careful to actually use the negative sign. All right, this is down 8, so it's -8. But once again, we need the hypotenuse, all right, which is, you can think of it as the radius of a circle. So a squared plus b squared equals c squared. So we're talking about 4 squared plus 8 squared. I'm ignoring the negative because I know it's going away anyway. Equals the radius squared. That's going to be 16 plus 64 is equal to the radius squared. That's going to be 80 is equal to the radius squared. Taking the square root of both sides, that means the radius is going to equal the square root of 80. And we're not going to use a calculator or anything. This could simplify further. You know, if we did the square root of 80, all right, I know that would be 4 radical 5, but I'm actually not going to go there right now. I'm just going to leave it as radical 80 for the moment. Okay, so now that I have that, look at this reference angle, all right? The reference angle, I can use this angle, ignoring the fact that this is really would be negative. As long as I use these signs of the sides of the triangle, including the -8. So the sine of this reference angle, opposite over hypotenuse, that would be -8 over radical 80. Now this is not going to be my final answer. Remember, the original question was cosecant, and cosecant is the reciprocal of the sine function. So the final answer is going to be radical 80 over -8. Now, if you wanted to simplify this, you would write the radical 80 as 4 radical 5, and then you would divide, because 4 divides evenly into 8. So that would give you negative radical 5 over 2. So that's the answer to number 4. All right, for number 5, once again, let's draw a reference triangle like this. And label it. So let's see, the x value is negative radical 19. So that must be right here, negative radical 19, all right, my x value. My y value is 9, so that must be this vertical side of the triangle. We need the hypotenuse, all right, the radius. And a squared plus b squared equals c squared. So I'm thinking 9 squared plus radical 19 squared is equal to r squared. Again, I'm leaving out the negative sign because I know when I square something it becomes positive anyway. So that's going to be 81 plus. Now, when you have a radical, a square root, and you square it, the radical just goes away. So that's going to be plus 19 is equal to the radius squared. Now 81 plus 19 is 100, which means that the radius is 10. So with that radius being 10, now we can go ahead and find the cosine. With the reference angle being right here, we know that cosine is adjacent leg over the hypotenuse. Now be careful to use the negative sign when you do this. So adjacent over hypotenuse will be negative radical 19 over 10. So that's the answer to number 5. All right, one more example. Now remember that the cotangent is the reciprocal of the tangent function. So I say we go ahead and find what the value of tangent theta would be, and then we'll just do the reciprocal for cotangent. All right, so let us draw a reference triangle like so. Now, negative 16 is x value, so that's going to go right here. 5 is the y value, so that's going to go right here. Now, we're looking at this reference angle. So, from the let's go ahead and, I started to say let's find the hypotenuse, but we actually don't need it because tangent involves these two numbers that we already have. So guess what? Tangent is going to be opposite over adjacent. So that would be 5 over negative 16. All right? But that means that the cotangent of theta is going to be negative 16 over 5. Because it's just a reciprocal. But that's it. That's the answer. This one was extra easy. All right, that's the end of this lesson. I hope it was helpful. I will see you on the next video.